Very warm good evening to all. Today's topic is about section 311 of CRPC. This section is the most important part of any criminal trial. The reason behind that, whenever we fail to examine a witness properly, it is this section which comes to our aid and help, and we can, with the assistance of this section, can bring that witness back who has already been examined, or bring out a new witness who has not been examined. That is called summoning power. Under section 311 CRPC, we can divide in three parts. That is, first is summoning of the witness. Any witness who is not before the court, and it is available to prosecution as well as defense. It is not, it is only available to the accused, and it is only available to complaint. It is available to both the parties, the defense and the prosecution. Now here, when we make an application for a new witness, it is called summoning. So whenever summons are issued to a new witness, it is a summoning. Now, sometime the witness has already been examined. That is where the word recall is used, and recall and re-examination. He was already summoned in the past. He has been examined, but there may be some reason, some document, or some very important aspect of the case which was due to some reason, maybe some ambiguity, it was not covered, and the prosecution or the defense wants to bring it back before the court, then they are going to use this section under section 311 CRPC. They can make an application. Now, the magistrate or the trial court, maybe session court or special court, has got ample power. In fact, I would say discretionary power to summon the witness. And there are three kind of witnesses here. That is one new witness. Another is the witness who has already been examined to be re-examined, if you want to re-examine. And another third aspect is where a witness which may not be there in the on the scene of the offense, but he is in the attendance before the court, and he can give a material which is connected to the case, or he can tender a document which is actually very important to bring out the truth of before the court. See, every court or the every case, the cardinal rule, a cardinal principle, important aspect is to arrive at the truth, what is behind the case. See, as a defense, we are putting up our case. As a prosecution, the prosecutor is putting up his case. The court is actually neutral, and it is only interested that the truth comes before it. So the powers under, though they are unfettered powers before the magistrate or trial court, it can actually ask, or it can actually summon or re-summon, recall a witness and re-examine it to bring out the truth before the court. It is very imperative that whenever this application is made, we have to always mention one line, that this witness has to be summoned or recalled and re-examined, for the one reason that the application, that this line is very important to arrive at the just, to arrive at a justice or the just outcome of the case. If you mention this, and if you are able to convince the judge or the presiding officer, your application is going to be allowed. We will see many of the judgments where it is allowed, and some of the judgments it is not allowed. But this is one important section. Those who are running the criminal trials is a must read for everybody, because whenever a case trial is run, what happens, sometime there are I would not call it lacuna, but due to oversight or due to some personal difficulty, due to change of counsel, some things remain unanswered. And if these things are remain unanswered, it will be very fatal, maybe to the prosecution case or maybe to defense case. In those kind of cases, this section 311 comes to your rescue. Now, section 311 CRPC does not mean retrial. Retrial is not allowed. Just because you have changed the counsel, you can call all the witnesses. No, you have to convince the court. Also, anything which is prejudicial or detrimental to one party, and it is the another party is want to bring, that cannot be a defense, that because just because it is detrimental to the defense, it cannot say the prosecution application under section 311 CRPC has to be rejected. Mind it that this application is most of the time made by the prosecutors, because I have some cases where it is made by the prosecutor, because sometimes with along with the charge sheet, when final report is submitted under section 173, there is a possibility some of the documents may not be part of the charge sheet, but then section 311 comes to the prosecution help. So always remember that section 311 is one such tool given by CRPC to all of us to bring out the truth and prove give our best evidence. See, it is always said under the Evidence Act that the court always wants the best available evidence to bring before it to arrive at a justice. So section 311 is one such section, if it is used properly and the reality is brought before the court by way of a witnesses or by way of relevant documents, then it is going to help you. Now, when I said three aspects, always remember that it may be a witness who is not even mentioned in charge sheet. It may be a witness who has already been examined and cross-examined in the past, and evidence has been closed from both the sides. Maybe the matter is actually kept for the final arguments also. There is no such that during inquiry, trial, and even at the just before the judgment is derived, this application is maintainable. Also, there is a possibility that a court wants to bring a witness, which would be called as a court witness. He or she can also be brought, though just in attendance before the court, can also be examined. So it is not necessary that witness is all actually mentioned in the charge sheet under the list of witnesses heading, or maybe he is already examined. There may be a witness which will be a court witness also. Court may want to examine any witness to arrive at the truth, which is essential to bring out the truth or give justice to the parties to the litigation. Now we will see few cases which are actually very important to understand how under section 311 CRPC we can utilize the same and help our clients to bring out the truth before the court and put our best evidence before the court. The first case I would like to take, that is of Pyarelal Tagde versus State of Maharashtra. This is from the Bombay High Court. It's a POCSO case. Now under POCSO case, we all know the victim is actually minor. Now here in this case, what happened? There was a omission when the PW1, that is the victim, was examined. There was omission brought about her date of birth. Now when we say that victim is minor and date of birth is the most important part of any POCSO case, those who are running the POCSO trial, they know it. This is the most important part, that if date of birth is not brought, the real date of birth before the court, the accused may be convicted also. Now here what happens, there was an omission brought by under the cross-examination by the counsel of the accused. However, when the other witnesses were examined, this omission was, he or she was unable, the lawyer counsel was unable to take this. Now when it came to his knowledge, he made an application under section 311. The trial court, that is session court, rejected this application. Matter went to the Bombay High Court. Justice Manish Pitare has delivered this judgment. Here it said that when we are running a trial of POCSO, and the most important part is the date of birth of the victim girl, it has to be brought before the court, and this is not due to oversight, or this is not a filling of lacuna. Actually, in omission, there was actually base was already. See, whenever you run a trial, you have to mention a base that this aspect has already been covered, and this is very important part which has to be examined. So when the omission was actually brought in the cross-examination, one of the witnesses, that's the PW1, that is victim girl, and the other witness, due to maybe some ambiguity or some oversightedness, the counsel was unable to bring it and could not cover this omission, and he was unable to ask to the other witnesses. Fortunately, the Bombay High Court allowed this, and section 311 came to that accused help. So this is very important, that material evidence about the date of birth was required to be brought before the court. And when due to some mistake, some ambiguity, it could not be, this section 311 helped this applicant or accused. Now, next we go to the very important part. We see many change of the counsel during trial. Trial runs for a longer time. In such times, when 3-4 counsels happens, the competency of one counsel or lawyer cannot be compared to the another counsel lawyer. See, whatever I see as a 6, the another lawyer may see as a 9. He may have his own reason for believing that. He may be having his own reason, the way to fight or to litigate the matter. Now here what happens, whenever you change a counsel, he or she may not feel comfortable what has been actually done, the trial is run or the cross-examination is taken. Now, in such cases, what happens, the client or the client want the lawyer to recall the witness. And now it is very difficult because the court may say that you may go on changing the counsel and I may not be able to recall every time. But there are 2 judgments which I would like to discuss. One of the judgment it was allowed and one of the judgment it was not allowed. This is one very important judgment from the Supreme Court, AG versus Shiv Kumar Yadav of the year 2015. Now here what happened, the counsel, new counsel was engaged and the client was saying, the litigation parties, that my previous counsel was not competent. So I want to recall the witness. The court said that competency of a lawyer is a subjective matter. Tomorrow you may engage a 3rd counsel who will again question the competency of the previous 2 lawyers. So this will go on just because of the you said that your previous lawyer was not competent enough to conduct a cross-examination. Under section 311, there is no power because that is not to bring out the truth. So whenever you make an application under section 311, it is very, very important that you mention that this examination and re-examination of this witness or summoning of this particular witness or the producing the relevant document through this witness is very important, and to arrive at the justice, to bring out the truth, to give the best evidence before the court. If these lines are not mentioned, probably your application may be rejected. This is what happened in AG versus Shiv Kumar Yadav. So engaging a new counsel is not a ground where you can use the section 311 CRPC. Another matter is of Sundarlal versus Urmila Thakur. Now this is a check bouncing matter from the Himachal Pradesh High Court of 2018. Now here what happened in check bouncing matter, we all speak about the legally enforceable debt, who has signed the check, issuance of the check, how it was issued, in what condition it was issued. Now here also again there was a change of counsel and they wanted to re-examine on these aspects. The trial court refused. The matter went to the High Court under section 482 CRPC. Fortunately, the court said in the check bouncing cases to arrive at the truth that who has issued the check, whether signature is the person who has actually issued the check, same person, whether that is enforceable legally debt. Now, these were very important, though it is a little contrary to Shiv Kumar. But see, what is the idea is how your application is made. The secret lies there. Here, the counsel was able to convince to the court that the truth is not before the court. To bring out the truth, we have to cross-examine, recall the witness and re-examine. And here it was allowed. I will also read out the relevant paragraphs in the end of this session. Another judgment is of the state versus and Srinivasagan. This is of 2021, very recent judgment. Now here this judgment is a very small point was discussed. This is also again a very well-researched judgment from the Supreme Court. Now here there were some documents which were the prosecution could not mark, that is the marking of the documents, exhibiting the documents. Now, this is under Prevention of Corruption Act. So everybody knows whenever a case is lodged under PC Act, sanction has to be taken. Now, here when sanction was taken, but unfortunately that document was not exhibited. The chairman in this, who has given the sanction, was examined, but this document was not produced on the record of the court. So an application was made by the before the trial court by the prosecution. The trial court dismisses, the high court dismisses, the matter traveled to Supreme Court. Supreme Court allowed it, said it is a technical thing, that a sanction was, though it was taken, maybe due to ambiguity, due to some mistake, or maybe oversightedness, this document was not before the court, and the defense will be able to, in fact, will be able to cross-examine. So there is no question of that it will be prejudicial or detrimental to the accused. So though the matter on the Prevention of Corruption Act, sanction is the most important part. Like in POCSO, I said date of birth is the most important aspect. Here in under PC Act, sanction is the most important part. So it was allowed by the Supreme Court, and the document was brought before the court. Another matter is about from the Supreme Court. This is a very old matter of 1991. It is about the custom. Some gold and cash was seized. Now both sides close the evidence. This is one judgment which is saying that this application may be made even at the time of the advancing of the arguments. The matter was actually for argument, and what happens? The prosecution said that the seizing officer, there was some Panchanama difficulties, and the seizing officer and two more witnesses they want to examine. Now, the seizing officer was, though examined, they wanted to re-examine by recalling and re-examining him. And there were another two more witnesses they were just summoned. Now, what happened? Trial court rejected, the magistrate rejected. Then they went into the revision. Session court again rejected the revision. The matter again went in the second revision before the High Court. High Court allowed these applications, that saying that it is important that the seizing officer may be re-examined because there is a need to arrive at the truth. And though the matter has been lingered for so many years and there is a delay, but truth, nothing can take a place of the truth. So it has to be brought before the court, the best available evidence. And the accused has a right to cross-examine. So it is not going to be prejudicial to him. So it was again brought before the High Court allowed these applications. Matter traveled to the Supreme Court. And now Supreme Court upheld the High Court's order, saying that High Court was right in allowing this application under Section 311. And this is one matter where you will also, for the academic interest, I'm telling you, there's a CRPC, it was under Section 540 CRPC previously, where it was there was some changes in the revision part. Now under it is 397, and that time it was second revision and about the Section 540. That is also discussed. From academic interest also, this judgment is very important. So this judgment, actually basic idea is that the application can be made at any stage of the trial, that is before the conclusion of the trial, that is before the judgment is delivered. One more important judgment is of the V.N. Patil versus K. Niranjan Kumar. Now here what happened? There were it's a matrimonial dispute, but unfortunately the lady succumbed to the injuries, and it is a matter under 304B, you can understand, and also 302 and 498A. Now here public prosecutor made an there was two post-mortem reports, and this first post-mortem report was before the court. The medical officer who was examined here, he was giving two opinions before the court, so he was declared hostile. Now this was a very serious matter where a lady has succumbed to the injury under Section 304B. Now very sensitive matter, so the prosecution wanted to bring the second postmortem report before the court, which was not a part of the charge sheet. Though it was it was not a private document. The defense was saying it's a private document, but it was again a government hospital. So it was a second post-mortem report. The prosecution wanted to bring it before the court. Now the trial court allowed it, High Court rejected it, but Supreme Court allowed it. And Supreme Court, the father of the deceased girl went and he said that this is a postmortem report of my daughter, where the actually the reason of the death should come before the court to arrive at the truth, and the accused will have a right to cross-examine, and these documents, if produced before the court, it will be easier for the court to arrive at the truth, to arrive at a just decision of the court, to give justice to my daughter as well as to the accused. Now Supreme Court allowed it, though High Court rejected it. Session Court has allowed it actually. Now High Court order was set aside. Now this is a very important matter from the angle that there were two post-mortem reports. Whenever I have been telling the junior lawyers, I am also a student of the law, that whenever we read some judgments, we actually gain so much knowledge. Like the second revision in the Mohanlal Sharma's case, or in V.N. Patil's case, and like second post-mortem report, which was actually not a part of the this charge sheet. Still it was brought, and the prosecution was able to say it is also a government hospital. This was not a point discussed whether it is from private hospital. It was a government. But second more, because the medical officer, maybe in his opinion, he was unable to say, and there were two opinions before the court in the examination chip, which was very detrimental to the case. So the father of the deceased girl went to the Supreme Court, and he was able to get an order to bring the second postmortem report on the record. So this is again a very important judgment, where a person who has done the postmortem, doctor, and the documents which were not a part of the charge sheet could be brought with the aid and the help of the section 311. So section 311, I would say, is something which is very important. But at the same time, we can discuss the section 311 is not to fill the lacuna, that a court will never help an inactive lawyer, a lethargic lawyer or counsel. I'm sorry to say that, but any inactive lethargic lawyer will not be. Those who are very diligent, or those who are very active, or they actually know their cases, would be help. You cannot just get up and make an application under section 311 that I have the accused has no belief in the previous lawyer who has no competence. We have seen the case where it was not allowed. So it is very important that the it cannot be unpredictable application. At just suddenly you make an application and take the other side by surprise, whether it's a prosecution, defense. And minded that these applications can be made by the prosecution as well as defense. And arbitrarily or capriciously, you cannot make just an application and come out with the ground that I want to examine and re-examine or recall this witness. You have to be very clear in your thought, your application, say why this application is made, why we want this witness to come before the court, and it is very essential to bring out the truth before the court, to give justice to the litigants. See, we always say I am the officer of the court. The meaning behind that I am putting up the best available evidence before the court. Section 311 is actually the, I would say, the complete cardinal or basic principle of the section 311 is to bring out the truth before the court. It is not for the accused, it is not for the complainant or appellant. It is only for those who actually want to assist the court to come to help the court to come to the truth of the case. So that's all about the section 311 CRPC. Anybody has a question?